Minick Materials compost production site. And joining me is Kody Kean, who is the production facilities manager. And really, you're the compost guru, right?
Yes, yes.
So go ahead and tell us a little bit about this magic stuff and how you make it.
So I took over our production facility 3 years ago.
Okay.
Since then, we started taking in more landscape waste
Okay.
after our big ice storm we had
Oh, right.
a few years back. Within, we took in, it was over $150,000 worth of material in only a couple of weeks.
Which would have gone to a landfill, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would have gone to a landfill. So bringing it here gives us the opportunity to put it back into nature and back to people's landscape and gardens by taking it and turning it into compost.
Right. So that is a carbon material, right? A lot of this plant debris.
Yes.
You also need some sort of nitrogen. Where does that
absolutely.
come from?
So we get our nitrogen from Gerber. We get baby food waste.
Oh, really? Okay.
So anything that did not make the cut and go to baby food gets sent to us.
Okay.
As well as dog food from Purina
Oh, okay.
in Edmond, Oklahoma.
Okay, so you're taking these leftover byproducts, really,
Absolutely.
and putting them back to use with this other waste material.
Yes. Doing so takes everything out of the landfill.
Yeah.
Or everything we can out of the landfill.
So there's a lot of, process to making compost. I think a lot of times we think it's pretty simple and you just put this recipe together and then turn it occasionally, but it's a little more complicated than that.
It's definitely a little more than that.
So tell us a little bit about your process here and how you've scaled it up.
So we do about 25,000 yards of compost a year.
Okay.
The Purina products that we get from Edmond is going to be any dog food that did not make quality grade, and we take that in, and that is going to be our nitrogen product.
Okay.
So we blend it at 2 parts carbon, 1 part nitrogen. When we break it down by volume, it actually equals a 28-to-1 carbon to nitrogen ratio.
So it's not just about mixing carbon and nitrogen. There's more process to that. Tell us a little bit about what happens with that recipe once you've put those products together.
Right. So when we put everything together, we make it in a 5,000 yard row.
Okay.
We use a 6-foot long thermometer to inspect the temperature inside of the compost row. It has to hit 130 degrees to kill off fecal coliform bacteria and any other pathogens that could be contaminating to or harmful to a human.
So even though you might be getting this food source and that sort of stuff, we don't have to worry about any bacteria or anything because it's reaching that temperature.
Correct.
Okay.
So it is actually sanitary.
Okay.
Our compost exceeds 170 degrees. I take pride in that because that was my combination of materials put together, and the benefit of hitting 170 degrees is that it kills off all weed seeds.
Oh, okay.
So all of our compost rows, even though they've been sitting here a year and full of nutrients, they have no weeds on them because we exceed those temperatures.
Which is important because we've all gotten that compost and then gotten a whole different set of problems.
Yes,
right?
exactly. You want to grow what you want to and not the weeds that are in your compost.
Right. So tell us what this guy's doing behind us here, because oxygen's important to this process also.
Absolutely.
Right?
So we have to add water and add oxygen to the compost. And by doing so, we flip the compost when we have rain events happening. We know that it's going to be raining tomorrow and tonight.
Yeah.
So this pile is getting flipped, it's getting loosened up, getting good airflow, and then the water will penetrate tonight when it rains, and that will reactivate those microorganisms and nutrients, or microorganisms and fungi and bacteria.
Yeah. And also I would imagine as your material, needs to get to that center to bake, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you've got some of the larger raw material on the outside. Now it can be put to the inside too.
Yes. And so to stay STA compliant, which is our seal of testing assurance put forward and set up by the U.S. Compost Council, we have to flip our compost rows 5 times and get that internal temperature of 130 at a minimum of 5 times.
And that's interesting that you mentioned certification, because I don't think we realize compost can be certified.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about what all that means?
So with the STA assurance, or the seal of testing assurance, it makes it to where we have strict guidelines of what material we can take in, how we have to produce it, and what temperatures we have to reach, as well as how clean it is. So it gets tested for fecal coliform, it gets tested for arsenic, it gets tested for anything harmful that could go into your garden. And before every product is sold, we have it sampled or tested and made sure that it's clear before it can be sold.
Safe. Yeah, definitely, which is an important factor.
Absolutely.
And some of your compost is OMRI listed, is that correct?
Yes, that's going to be our dark forest compost.
Okay.
So what that OMRI listing states is that the materials that go inside of our compost is an organic sourced material.
Okay. So obviously, if I have the compost guru in front of me, I'm going to ask you, because we all have had that foul-smelling compost, or it just isn't breaking down. What maybe can a homeowner do that we might be doing wrong? What are some of the classic problems that we often see?
So classic problems, I talked to quite a few people who have backyard compost rows or compost bins as or turners.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things I see is too much moisture. So we don't think about how much moisture the food has in it when you put it into the compost turner, as well as adding material to it all the time.
Okay, so quit adding material to it.
Quit adding material. So our compost rows take 12 months, and we don't put anything in it from the first day that it was born till it's finished.
Oh, okay. So you're not constantly adding to these piles behind you. You're working on starting a new pile somewhere else.
If you add material to the compost, either nitrogen or carbon, it's either going to slow down or speed up the compost. And if it speeds up too fast, it can get too hot and then cause a fire.
Okay. And if it's too wet, you mentioned too much water, you kind of have lost your oxygen in there. You get an anaerobic situation, start stinking a little bit.
So you start needing more oxygen or maybe some carbon to revitalize it. But the important thing is once you have your ratios made, leave it alone, turn it, leave it alone, turn it.
Okay. Well, Kody, I have to admit, when we got out of the car, there was a strong smell, but it actually smelled really good.
Yeah. So we know that we're doing a good job is when it smells sweet. We just have an earthy smell or a chocolatey smell, sometimes even coffee, and that kind of gets my morning going. It's because we have good fungal growth and good bacteria growth that's happening within the compost piles, making it smell that good.
Right. It's got a good earthy smell to it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your secrets, and here's to hoping for a great gardening season because of it.
Sounds great.
You.
You're welcome.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.